You're locked on to Hans Olsen and Scotty Chin.
That's right. Yeah!
On 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Completely unrelated to our conversation here with Ben Anderson. Christian, do you have an update on the What You Got Wednesday poll from yesterday when I was hanging out with Ben?
Oh, yeah. So
Both,
best Aggies, Scotty, you are leading 73-27, and best Scots, you are leading 59-41.
Oh, that's a little closer than I was expecting.
Yeah, but still, you're going 2 for 2 right now.
Ben Anderson joining us now. Hi, Ben. How are you?
Hey, Ben.
My phone was breaking up. I didn't hear what you guys were just talking about. I missed all those numbers. Yeah.
We can.
Anyways, hope you're good.
No, we're good, man. Hey, it was a blast hanging out with you yesterday. Appreciate it, and thanks for coming on with us.
Hey, really quick, Ben, I want to get the reasoning. Why no Johnny Manziel on Famous Aggies?
Yeah,
I drafted Mike Evans. He was the good one. Right? He was the good one in that duo.
Mike Evans really was the one that made Johnny Manziel look good.
I mean, if you were to poll a household, one person might know Mike, all 5 would know Johnny.
I can't believe you are so pro
Look,
Johnny
I'm not a Johnny football guy. I'm just telling you, he's a household name. Netflix didn't run a special on Mike Evans. They ran a special on Johnny Manziel.
Fair enough. So you're saying, well, you also wanted Scott Peterson on the Scott list, too.
Yes. Famous Petersons. Oh, sorry. Famous Scots. Yeah, that wouldn't.
Would you care to comment on that one, Ben?
No, I'll pass on that one. So, we didn't take Scott Baio either, and that was kind of the obvious low-hanging fruit, but we tried to get a little creative with it.
A lot of golfers. You guys went with like 4 or 5 Scott golfers, didn't you?
He took Scotty Scheffler. I don't think I took a golfer.
But there's an Adam Scott in there, wasn't there?
Adam Scott, the actor.
The actor.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. Okay. George Niang, you and I touched on this a little bit yesterday. Probably doesn't change things in terms of wins and losses, but what kind of attributes can he bring to the locker room to help the development of these guys?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think on the court, his ability to spread the floor is going to help everybody out. I just think having consistent floor spacers gives everyone room to develop. It's a nice guy who's going to show up and do his job every day. Doesn't need a lot of touches, isn't going to complain if he doesn't get a lot of touches, probably doesn't need to play every night, but is going to make things easier when he's on the court. And I think that gets a little bit underrated. When you talk about, young players getting as many opportunities as possible, you do want it to reflect an actual basketball game. You want it to look like they're actually playing NBA basketball. So they have space that they can, expect when they're actually playing on a good team. And I do think George Niang steps in and offers that immediately. And, Lowry's going to play a lot, and that's not a surprise. But outside of him, I'm not sure how many, guaranteed great shooters there are on this Jazz roster. I think Bryce Sensabaugh can really shoot a lot. But, again, he's still one of these young guys. How much are you going to put on his plate to carry a big load there? So if you can have George step in and play that role, that means Cody Williams doesn't have to be a three-point shooter. It means Ace Bailey doesn't have to be a great three-point shooter right away. And sometimes three-point shooting becomes a shortcut for guys. It's just like, well, this is what I do. And it can stem their development a little bit elsewhere. It is one of the most important things you can do. It is a great way for guys to, become NBA players if the rest of their game doesn't develop. But there's not a lot of stars who are just three-point shooters. So if the Jazz are trying to figure out which of these young players can be a star or can score with the ball in their hands, being able to actually operate, attack the rim, not just have a specialty as a shooter, it makes it a little bit easier with George on the floor.
Give us your best projection for the starting 5 for the Utah Jazz.
I think Keontae is going to start. I think that might be my wildest guess of players who, weren't starting late last season. The Jazz kind of liked his six-man of the year role or six-man role that he played last season. But I think right now when you need shooting, I understand he's not a great shooter, but I think he's much better than Isaiah Collier. I think that matters. And I think you're still trying to figure out if this guy's going to be a star or what type of role he has. And maybe I'm way off on that. Maybe it's just Isaiah Collier. But if you care about shooting and you're going to let Will Hardy coach, I think you can go Keontae at the 1, maybe Ace Bailey at the 2, Lowry Markkinen at the 3, Flip at the 4, and Walker Kessler at the 5. And adding George Niang could change that because he could certainly step in at the 3, and then that moves Lowry to the 4 and makes it a little easier to play, or you can play George Niang at the 4. But if you are going to try and put a product on the floor that looks like a basketball team, you have to have shooting. And that's where I could see the Jazz trying to get Keontae George out there maybe a little bit more. And again, everything I've heard is he's had a huge summer. I think some of the moves that they made, including Colin Sexton, were really about getting the young guards on the floor, but that does still include Keontae George. They clearly did move him this summer. So I could see them trying to make sure he has a big opportunity and might be the best of both worlds between playmaking, not as good as Isaiah, but he's probably better than Walt Clayton at this point. And while he may not be as good a shooter as Walt Clayton, he's a better playmaker. And that might just be kind of the easy place to start the year.
Is this team, from a win-loss standpoint, and this may not be a fair question to ask, does this team win more than last year's team?
Yeah, they definitely win more than last year's team. You have to try to win only 17 games, and that's why we saw what the Jazz did last year. By November, Lowry Markkinen was resting games already, and I know it was chalked up to a back or whatever it was, but Jordan Clarkson's on-again, off-again plantar fasciitis started really early in the year. So I just don't think you're going to see that as much. That doesn't mean I think Lowry's going to play 75 games. He usually doesn't. Even when he's been healthy, he doesn't play that many games. But I just think you're going to see a team that plays consistently more often. And as a result, you add 5 or 6 wins, which I know doesn't seem like a lot, especially when you stretch it out over a 6-month season. But you're talking about an extra win every 2 weeks. And when you're playing only 6 or 7 games over those 2-week stretches, that extra win does feel like a lot, I think, for the fan base, even if it doesn't dramatically change what your lottery odds are going to be. So I don't think the Jazz are going to finish with the worst record in the NBA. I still think they're one of the 3 or 4 worst teams. And if you do that, you're still guaranteed to have your top 8 draft pick next year without it going to OKC.
What was the point of bringing in Yusuf Nurkic?
I do think they wanted to clear room. I mean, most of it was about getting off of Colin Sexton's final year. Because, look, truthfully, Colin's 25. He deserves to play. He's still the best player in the Jazz's backcourt if he were still here. And it's the last year of his contract. So he's got to play. And you've got to let him go out there and show that he can earn, his next contract. And, look, no one's feeling bad for Colin making $18.5 million this season. But he's pretty underpaid for what type of player I think he is. And he's going to look to be trying to make, 25 or 30 million. And I don't know if that's going to get there for him. But you got to at least give him the chance. And you would really hurt the agent, which is Clutch. You don't want to mess with Clutch that way, I don't think. You don't want to mess with those guys and saying, like, hey, we're only playing you 40 minutes at a contract year. Like, you're just not going to get money. And you run the risk of some of these guys who are really good players who are signing NBA minimums, really low contracts. I don't think that's fair to do to Colin. So that's the number one part of it. But actually, Nurkic comes in and does offer some balance. He's a backup big man who's going to spill into that role. I don't think you want to play Kyle Filipowski there a whole lot. I don't think he's actually a 5. I think he's a 4. So you just kind of have a 2 deep now at all the positions. You've got a legit 10 guys on the floor who will play. Does that mean they can play? I don't know. We don't know what to expect from Ace Bailey yet. We don't know if Cody Williams is ready or what Taylor Hendricks is going to look like. But I think you can pretty easily pencil in, like, there are 10 guys here, and probably 11 when you include Kyle Anderson, that should be able to play every night to give Will Hardy at least enough tools to get to the finish line.
Do you think Taylor Hendricks is at a point in his health where we can finally make a determination on him this year? And is it fair to make that determination this season?
I wouldn't. Health-wise, yeah, I think he'll be, by all understanding, is he's going to be back and ready to go the first day of training camp. And that's a great sign for him. But still, kind of the intel I've gotten is that they're going to bring him along really slowly. So I don't expect him to start. I think that would be a lot to put on his plate after that injury. You want to see physically how he holds up, but then mentally, just like let him come along slowly. Let him get back to where he's comfortable, and so he's playing the right way and handling what he can handle. And the truth is, you've got a lot of other guys who can play in front of him, or earn some minutes that allow him to be brought along slowly. So you do it the right way. I think rushing him back could just be a setback for him. And if he's not playing well, do you rattle him? Do you feel like, if he's not playing well, you got to send him down to the G League, which maybe he does anyways. But no, I would be hesitant on how much I expect or would want to see from Taylor to make a real judgment off of The interesting thing is he is eligible for a contract extension next summer. And if he doesn't play great, it actually could be beneficial for the Jazz where they say, lock him up, get him to a long-term deal. We think he is going to come out of this and be fine in the long run, even if this first year was just kind of a trial run to get back on the floor. But maybe you can lock him up to a long-term deal and it ends up being beneficial for you.
I've got Cody Williams as the second best summer league performance through Vegas and Utah. I've got obviously Filipowski. I don't know how you don't just look at that summer for. I don't know why he was on the court as much as he was, to be honest with you. But I felt like Cody Williams had some really good moments through summer league, whether it was in Vegas or here in Utah. What is the ceiling for him, Ben? How good could Cody Williams be? His brother's incredible. Brother obviously dragging to the championship series and incredible things from him. But how good could Cody be?
I think Cody can be really good. I mean, I don't know if he's a star. I don't know if Cody's going to have that, ability to become a star. And you don't want to pull that off the table. Guys develop at different, timelines, and his brother developed at a later timeline than where Cody is expected to be right now. So that's not really fair to put on him. But I don't know if he has the kind of me first guy, I'm going to take over and be a number one guy type of mentality that stars generally have. Now, with that said, I think he still has the ability to be a starter. I think he's going to be a good defensive player. I think his length just gets in the way in a good way. I think you saw that a lot. Several 2-steal or 2-block games in the summer league, and I think that's going to be something the Jazz are going to have to focus on. And two-way players are super valuable in the NBA. I mean, the more two-way guys you can have, the better shape you're going to be in. And I think Cody right now, you look at the Jazz's young roster, like Keontae doesn't play a lot of defense, Bryce doesn't play a lot of defense, Flip doesn't play a lot of defense. You hope Ace plays a lot of defense. Taylor Hendricks will, and I think Cody Williams has a chance to do it as well. So he's got to figure out what his role is going to be offensively, but I think he can be a good piece defensively, and good teams just have guys who play both sides of the floor. And so I would think Cody still is a top 6 or 7 guy in a rotation. And if he really peaks, maybe he can be, the 4th best player. I just don't know if he's going to be one of your top 2 or 3 guys that's making, $35 million a year that you're building your identity around.
If the Jazz decide to try to move Lauri Markkanen near the trade deadline, is this weird landscape of the NBA work against them where kind of the upper middle class of the NBA doesn't seem like there's a lot of demand for them in terms of how they work against the apron and things like that?
It can. What might be nice for the Jazz is that Lowry might be the best player available, and those guys always fetch a high price, because Kevin Durant's been moved already. Some of those, Jalen Williams, Jalen Green, who was in that deal before Kevin Durant got moved. Like some of the guys that were going to be out there, that were going to be available, that were going to be on the trade market, kind of already found their landing spot. So I think there's a chance that even though Lowry's $40 million is probably a bit restrictive in the new landscape, I think you can live with it, especially if he's the best guy out there. And there's a team that should be able to sell itself on $40 million from Lauri Markkanen. And, the Miami Heat might be willing to make a move like that. We'll see. I think that can get done. I think some of those trades can get done. Pascal Siakam got moved. I believe that was in season. OG Anunoby's been moved. We've seen some of these players that are not quite superstars, but are probably top 30 or 40 players, even with big contracts, moved around when a team feels like we want to make an improvement. We want to make the biggest splash that's out there. And I think Lowry has a chance to be that. And I think he's going to rebuild his value. I think playing in Eurobasket at the end of this month is going to be good for him. He's going to come into camp in shape. I think the Jazz are just going to play him a lot because they need him to play a lot because he's going to have to score. And, they don't have young players that they can count on to score easily and efficiently just to be competitive most nights. So I think Lowry's value will probably be rebuilt, and maybe not to 25 and 8 like he was his All-Star year, but better efficiency, on the floor more often, fewer concerns about any potential injury, assuming he's healthy. And I would bet that a market develops for him. Teams want to get better, and he's going to be available, and he's a good player, even if last year was down.
So if I'm him, I just don't know how I feel because I'm getting to the point where I'm getting into my late 20s and you're in the prime of your career and you're seeing this long rebuild process around you. Where do you think his mindset is going into this season?
He's always been a very good trooper, and he's always just kind of bought into what the Jazz are doing. I mean, he knew they were tanking last year. He was, he didn't talk about it necessarily on camera or anything, but it was pretty obvious if you talked to him around, he was on board with what the team was doing and understood it was going to be a long developmental year and that was something he was going to have to sit through. And look, he's gotten paid. I think he likes the state of Utah. So I think he has an ability to, I guess, compartmentalize and value some things and say, look, if I was somewhere else, I probably wouldn't have gotten $40 million a year. And I think that's absolutely true. So I think he can value that and then maybe make the best of it by playing well and getting traded somewhere else. And I think that probably is the most likely situation still. And I think he recognizes that is up to him, and there can be primetime teams, like I mentioned in Miami, that could maybe want to go out there and acquire him. I think those opportunities will present themselves going forward. I still wouldn't rule out a Golden State if certain things work together. They had looked at him very closely, and I know they went out and got Jimmy Butler, and that was kind of their big move last year, but they still have Jonathan Kuminga. We'll see what type of contract he ends up on, and Brandon Podziemski. Like, most of the pieces that they had when they were discussing a Lowry Markkanen trade 2 summers ago are still there. So I think that you could still see, maybe something along those lines develop. And, I'm sure Lowry would love to play in Miami. Everyone likes playing in Miami. I'd love to play in Golden State where he would step into that Klay Thompson role. So I still think there's a lot for Lowry to play for. And I think as a result, he's on board. He knows how to fall in line.
So, Ben, there were 6 Summer League games available, 3 in Vegas and 3 here in Utah. Why did we only see Ace Bailey in 2 of those? It was Game 1 and Game 2. He had 8 points in Game 1 against Philly. He had 18 points, I think it was, against Memphis. Why did we not see him through the rest of Summer League?
Yeah, first I have to go back. Was it a hip flexor and it was a groin, and then I think it turned into a hip flexor. Or whatever they ended up diagnosing with. And, they just want to be so hypersensitive to these types of little injuries that could be nagging, because I do think Summer League matters. And look, the Jazz have talked a lot about how, Bryce Sensabaugh and Taylor Hendricks were at a major setback because they didn't play in the Summer League coming out of their first year, and Keontae George did, and Keontae George was in the lineup to start the season, and both of those other guys went to the G League to start the year for the most part. So I do think it matters to get out there. I also think they want to make sure that, he's got the rest of the summer to be healthy and play and not aggregate it, not aggravate it. And if it is a groin or one of these injuries, a hamstring, which is what Walt Clayton was dealing with late, that could linger, that could be, 3 weeks here, 4 weeks there, that can be a pretty major setback before. So honestly, I think they're being a little bit too careful. But look, I think Cooper Flagg only played 2 games. Dylan Harper didn't play a whole lot of games. So the fact that we saw him at all, I guess, is a slight positive. Personally, if you're 18 and you haven't played since March and it's June or July and you're only playing a couple of games, I'm not a fan of that. I would have much preferred to see them play more, recognizing that they've got 80 games coming up in front of them, and you are going to have to push through some things, even if you're not 100%. But I think that's the reasoning. It's just handling the guys with kid gloves at this point to make sure nothing else gets worse in the summer.
Is Luka on pace to be the first $100 million a year guy with that shortened contract extension?
Let's see. You got 3 years, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just trying. Some of this is just, he obviously is going to qualify for all the Supermax stuff. That's not going to be in question for him. Honestly, the question is, is there some weird player? Devin Booker is going to be the highest paid player in the NBA because he signs this weird 2-year extension at $75 million a year. Conceivably, I guess, Luka could get there first, but is there a team that's just we want to reward our guy, even, for his loyalty or whatever? So, does Giannis get a $100 million deal before that? I would have to look at some of those timelines, but it's coming, and then it's not just going to be one guy. It's just going to be so many guys in the NBA. It's pretty insane, in all honesty, to think that we're at that point where guys are going to be making over $1 million a game. And for a lot of these guys, I mean, you're talking about 50 or 60 nights a year is all they play. No one's playing 82 games a year other than, Mikal Bridges. So these guys are making a couple $1 million a game. It's pretty insane. And then, you get bonuses on top of it for making it to the playoffs. And those aren't huge numbers, but the salaries in the NBA are getting more and more shocking by the offseason.
So are we just on the precipice? Are we at the very front of a dynasty with OKC?
I don't think so. If it is, obviously, yes, they've only won their first title. I just don't think we're going to see dynasties. I just really don't. I think, as much as we've talked about the tax aprons and how difficult it is to re-sign your guys, and that's absolutely true. They're going to be fine next year. The contracts don't even kick in, I think, until the season after, right? So they're going to have these guys for a while with Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams, but you're going to have to pay some of your other young players that were major difference makers, and you're going to have to sacrifice a Lou Dort as a result, and you're going to lose an Isaiah Hartenstein as a result. And credit to them, they've drafted extremely well. Still, the best teams at drafting hit, 30%. They're not going to hit 80%. And a great run for OKC, but I don't expect that to continue. And some of the lottery picks will dry up, even though I know they have so many first-round picks coming up. It's just hard to keep it together. And then on top of it, one of the reasons why I think there's fewer dynasties now than ever before is because the league is more talented than it's ever been. And that's because it's gone a very long time without expanding. So rosters are shockingly talented, and depth is winning out, which is really valuable right now. So you get in this trap of paying your top players 60, 70% of your salary cap, and the rest of your roster starts to fall off, or you're relying on young players. And, I would look at the Denver Nuggets maybe being the best case or the best example of this, where Jokic was paid and Jamal Murray was paid and Michael Porter Jr. was paid, and they tried to pay Aaron Gordon. And then it's like, well, the only money you have left is minimum contract guys and rookies. And I promise you talk to any vet, as much as unless you're in the very last couple of years of your career and the contracts are all the same, guys are going to take a $10 million deal over a veteran minimum deal, even if it means, the veteran minimum deal comes with an opportunity to compete for a championship. They'll go sign the Joe Johnson, get $10 million to play in Utah versus $2 million to play in Miami or wherever to compete for a title. Guys still want to make as much money as they can and capitalize on that as long as possible. So OKC should be the favorite going into next year, but, I've said that about Denver 2 years ago and Milwaukee a couple years before that and Boston this year. It's just there is a reason we're not seeing these teams repeat. A, it's really difficult to do. B, the injuries I think are going to pack up, and I always worry about Chet Holmgren. And then guys leave, guys move on. It's going to happen.
You see the story about the security guard with the Heat that stole jerseys and sold them for $2 million?
I did. I didn't see how he did it. Was he just taking him right out of the locker room, or did he have unique access?
Yeah,
he had unique access,
and he did have unique access. But you and a lot of the beat writers, you go in there in those post game scrums. If there was a Jazz beat writer that could be capable of doing something like that, who is it, and why did you pick Andy Larson?
Oh, it's me. Honestly, it's me.
Don't take this heat.
You know what I do have, and actually I didn't steal this by any means, but it was being discarded, and I asked if I could have it. Now I have it. I have Andres Biedrin's nameplate that was above his locker. So I have that because Andres Biedrins truly might be the worst Jazz player of all time, and I have his nameplate at my house. It's buried. I don't even have it displayed. It's in a box of stuff.
That needs to hit the auction.
You can get big money for that.
Think someone wants beans? Andres Biedrins is big nameplate sitting over his. He might have played. I think he's the only player in Jazz history to shoot 1,000%. He never missed a shot. I think he's the only Jazz player who's ever done that. I also think he played 2 games, and I think he may have taken 1 or 2. So, one time I saw it was a locker room clean out, and I think Gordon Hayward threw away all of his socks. And Hans, have you done the Jazz preseason media camp?
Oh yeah, a few times.
And they give you the really fancy socks, the real NBA socks.
Yep.
And I think Gordon Hayward threw away 10 pairs. And I bet you, I don't know, Hans, you played in the NFL. You probably got nice gear. I mean, what do we think these socks are? $25 a pair?
Right around there, 25 to 30, yeah.
There was so probably $200 worth of socks in the garbage. And for a brief moment, I almost was like George Costanza, eat the eclair out of the garbage.
You ruffle those out.
They were laying on the top. You go home, you launder those. You got great socks, man.
But I left them. I left them. But I saw it, and I thought that felt wasteful in my heart. So.
Hey, all I'm saying is if there is a gear investigation on a federal level, Jody Gennesee's getting a knock on his door. I guarantee it.
No, that's Jody. That's for sure.
Guarantee it. He's getting a knock on his door.
That's a good point. I forgot about Jody. Hey, you're the best, man. We appreciate it. Thanks for being a part of the show, and let's do it again here soon.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, thanks for filling in. Sorry about the draft. Talk to you guys later.
Yeah, you're all good. That's Ben Anderson.
Sorry about the draft that he's losing.
I think so, yeah.
You're whooping him in Famous Aggies.
Yes.
Because he thought he'd be creative and go Mike Evans. Nobody knows the name.
I went Lavelle Edwards. He went Mike Evans.
Everybody knows Lavelle. That's going to be in voting range.
I know. Yeah, I played to the crowd a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
It was crafty. It was a crafty vet move.
Yeah.
I bet that he didn't have Lavelle on his draft board.
No. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
This is your top 60 and 60 watch list as Hans and Scotty get you ready for the start of the 2025 college football season by highlighting the most influential players on their team for the upcoming season. And now, get the call, baby! Come on, let's go! Here's today's newest addition to the watch list.
It is your top 60 and 60 watch list right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. And it is time to get another entry onto the list. Let's go to BYU as Kalani introduces another one of his defensive linemen.
John Taumoepeau, JT we call him, big physical D-tackle. He's actually become one of the favorites from Coach Boha to use in the middle. He can make moves, and he's agile. He's a D-tackle that thinks and plays like a D-end, but he's got the size for D-tackle. So that's usually a good sign. And he can hold his ground, and he doesn't mind the physical part of the game. He actually thrives on being physical in the line of scrimmage and loves those challenges. So looking forward to him having more reps and more opportunities. He's done a great job for us last year, and he's going to be really strong for us this year.
So there you go. Should be an interesting addition to that defensive line.
Big John Taumoepeau, he is a special talent. So I don't know what to think of Justin Kirkland. I can't get many updates on him. You know, when you're out at media about observation, you're not going to see enough or know a lot. I do know that he was on a video earlier this week, and he was like, hey, love being out there, and kind of made it apparent that he's a part of it, but I don't know how much. And then, you know, you get updates from the defensive coordinating side of things, and they're like, well, we don't know exactly what to think with Kirkland.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to think of Kirkland at this point. I don't know if he's going to be a part of Portland State. I don't know if he's going to be a part of Stanford. I don't know. It's a big old question mark that needs to get answered. At this point, I'm going to say I'm going to get ready for Portland State without him. Okay? If I'm getting ready for Portland State without him, then John Taumoepeau is my second D tackle on an even front. I've got Keanu Tanavasa in a 1-3, and I've got Taumoepeau in a 1-3 in an even front.
Okay.
If Kirkland is healthy and ready and available, then I've got him, and then Taumoepeau is my first rotator. So that's the way I feel about John. He's really good. Great body, and he's going to be a good run stopper, and he has to be. I think he's good, and we've seen reps from him, so we know he's pretty darn good. He's got to take another step, and he's got to be great, because I do think he's going to carry a pretty heavy load this year. He'll be John Nelson. He needs to be John Nelson.
Yeah, and if he can fill those big shoes, then you're in pretty good shape.
Keanu Tanavasa needs to be Blake Mingleson.
Blake Mingleson, yep.
Taumoepeau needs to be Big John Nelson. Mm-hmm. And you just can't replace a Tyler Batty.
Yeah.
I can't expect Logan Latui to be that guy. I can't expect Maila Kafusi to be that guy. I can't expect Viomai Puha to be that guy. I just can't. Tyler Batty is a guy, you just can't replace him. But I do think I can replace some of the production of Mangleson, but Taumoepeau, he needs to be John Nelson.
All right, time for your good, the bad, the ugly, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
It's time to saddle up and talk about the winners and the losers. This is the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, here's the good.
It is your good, it is your bad, it is your ugly right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. All right, I put this up here just, and by the way, good, the bad, the ugly, brought to you by where we're at right now, RGS Exteriors and Construction, obsessed with quality results. Call Tim and the crew, ready to help you out with whatever you need, 801-280-3110. So everybody just assumes that Arch Manning may very well win the Heisman this year and feels like he will be the first selection in the upcoming NFL draft. Well, Archie Manning his grandfather and namesake, is throwing some cold water on that. Now, I'm going to ask you, because I've got an opinion on this. Is Grandpa playing some games here?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
the whole Manning family is.
He is. He said that those teams that may be wanting to tank for his grandson shouldn't get their hopes up. Said Arch isn't going to do that. He will be at Texas next year playing in his senior year of football.
Yeah. The Mannings are all playing coy. They're all slow playing it, keeping under the wraps. That's why he's never transferred out. That's why he's never bickered about being number 2 behind Ewers. That's why every time he takes the field, you're like, holy cow, that guy's crazy. But then he's all of a sudden he's gone. Nobody really talks about him. You're not seeing him on every commercial. That guy could be on every commercial.
Oh, yeah.
He could have his voice louder than anybody else in the country. He could be on the top of everybody's board for Heisman up-and-comer. Everybody slow-played it. Everybody's playing coy. They've told Peyton. They've told Eli. They told Arch, the grandpa, just shut your mouth. We want him to run under the radar, mature, and then be that, wow, where did he come from in an NFL camp? And that takes a lot of work to keep a Manning under wraps.
Well, and also a lot of money, and that's because Arch is probably your highest paid from an NIL standpoint player in college football this year. And so he doesn't need to leave if he doesn't want to. And remember, this is the same family that saw Eli get drafted by the Chargers and forced to trade to get him to New York. Like, you don't really have that kind of leverage if you're not the Manning family. And they do. And so I think that if there's a situation where the Browns have the number 1 overall pick, they're going to be like, no, don't like that. Don't like that situation at all. You're going back to Texas for another year. And he's got the financial wherewithal to be able to be like, yeah, I'll go back to Texas. I don't need to go to the NFL this year. I'm making a lot of money. I've got the family support. I can stay put for another year and be very happy at Texas.
It's crazy,
and not go to the NFL.
It's crazy.
Yeah. It's the one person that could pretty much do that and be just fine.
I think he's going to blow up.
I do too.
So he only had 3 games last year of 10 attempts or more. There was only 3 games that he played in of 10 attempts or more. There's only 2 games of double-digit completions that he played in. And that was against Louisiana Monroe and Mississippi State. 2 games with double-digit completions, and he still went for 1,000 yards. He still threw for 9 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Every time he touched the field, and remember, he's just backing up Quinn Ewers, and Ewers went down. I think it was against Louisiana Monroe, right? And then Manning got the start against Mississippi State, and then Ewers came back.
And Ewers came back, yeah.
So in those moments, if he wasn't throwing for a touchdown, he was running for a touchdown. He had 4 rushing touchdowns in the short amount of time that he got to play.
He's more, and I know, look, we're way too young. There's a lot of people that are way too young to remember Archie Manning, the quarterback. Archie was a scrambler. Archie was a runner. Yeah. Now, we know Peyton and Eli for having center blocks for feet and not being able to run at all. This kid is more like his grandpa. This dude can get out and run.
Well, he can get out and run, but he's also big. You know, he's 6'5", 220, 230 pounds. Well, Arch wasn't 6'5", was he? Grandpa? Grandpa was 6 foot, 6'1"?
Oh, I think he was 6'2", 6'3".
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought he was kind of a shorter, stockier guy. But Arch is long and runs like a gazelle.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to blow up.
I do too.
And I think that he has run very much under the radar. And I think he's going to be one of the best things that college football has this year. And, I mean, how they've played this and kept him so low profile and kept his mouth shut. There's a bit of this that I almost feel like he's getting old school advice in a new school world.
Yeah. No social media. The kid got a Twitter account to announce that he was going to Texas, and then I don't think he's posted ever since. Yeah.
So he's getting old school advice in a new school world. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out, is that the right way to go in modern day? where we've got a kid that's in 8th grade called Baby Gronk that's got 1.4 million followers, and the kid is probably making $650,000 a year just on his stupid social media posts. Did you limit him, or did you save and protect him so that he can just have an NFL career? Because that's really eventually that's what you're judged off of. And it's like, okay, are we going to have 4 Mannings that are Hall of Fames? Is that what we're going to end up with? And is that what you're working for? Like, you're telling him the whole time, like, keep your mouth shut, stay off social media, don't worry about the dollars now, don't worry about the starts now. Get in a good program, get in a good quarterback situation, play behind Ewers, keep your mouth shut, watch him, observe, listen to Sarkisian, take advice from him as a quarterback coach, and then we get you into the Hall of Fame. And that's where it's important. I don't know.
It appears that's the case. And frankly, if you and I had kids that were playing at that level, with that level of notoriety, I would want to do the same. I don't know if I could do the same, because you want these kids to make their money as soon as they possibly can. Yeah. Because you never know when it's going to go away. But if I'm filthy rich already, and his dad, even though his dad didn't end up playing, but he's worked for, I think, some financial, like the dad's as financially sound as anybody in the family. So the kid doesn't need the money. So if I had a chance to allow a superstar kid of that magnitude grow up the right way, that's the way I would do it. I would love to do it.
It's tough because, my son really wants to be a third-generation NFL guy. He really wants it. He wants to be the third generation. He wants to renew his name and renew the Olsen name in Logan. He wants to. And it's like, making that decision of where to go to college and how to help manage him in college to get to where he wants to get. He wants to get to the NFL. He wants to cement that legacy. And it's like, geez, man, you're biting off the biggest chunk of apple. And talking to him and how to manage that was really difficult. And if he does what I advise him and Uncle Phil advises him, and I wish Merlin was around to advise him, he could get there. He's got the body to do it. Yeah. And that's what it came down to. It was like, all right, so who can manage you? Well, Bronco Mendenhall can manage you.
Bronco can do that, yep.
And, okay, where can you sign now and not move and still have that chance? Because I look at him the same way. I'm like, I want you to be at a school that you can be under the radar, you can play low-key, everybody will know who you are, you'll be able to make some NIL, but 2 years in the system before you finally get that start. It's Utah State. He can play his entire career at Utah State, get everything he needs from Bronco Mendenhall, and be an NFL guy. And so the advice I give him is kind of along the lines of what I'm sure Arch and Peyton and Eli are giving Arch Manning. Just keep your mouth shut. Go to a place where it can develop you, because college is one thing, but you want to get to the NFL. And I think that Arch has managed it really well.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, 155. Coming up next, another edition of Whole World News right here on the Zone.
We've got the whole world in our hands. You got the whole world in our hands. We've got the whole world in our hands. We've got the whole world in our hands. We've got the whole world in our hands. You got you and me, brother, in our hands. You've got you and me, sister, in our hands. You've got you and me, brother, in our hands. We've got the whole world in our hands. We got little Eddie, baby, in our hands. We've got a little Eddie, baby, in our hands. We got a little Eddie.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
So when I say Autobahn in west of Berlin, it's in Germany. When I just say, the Autobahn,
yeah,
what do you first think of?
Speed.
Okay, because there's no speed limit.
Correct.
Okay, so what I learned in today's story is the Autobahn has sections of no speed limit, but then there are sections of a speed limit. So they go by kilometers per hour. There's a section of the Autobahn that's 120 kph, which is 74.5 miles per hour. Just to kind of put it in terms so people can picture what this is. So 120 kph, which is 74.5 miles per hour. So you can go whatever speed you want on certain parts of the Autobahn, but then you get to these parts that have speed limits. They also have these, those speed indicators. They have those speed indicators. Well, a cop just happened to be sitting by one of the speed indicators as a guy was coming off the no limit into the limit, and he was doing 320 kph, which is 199 miles per hour in a McLaren. Ooh. Do you know what a McLaren?
Yeah, McLaren's that's
a
high
nice
end.
car.
Oh yeah.
He was doing 199 miles per hour, and which is 124 miles per hour above the speed limit in this part of the Autobahn.
You do that in the United States, you're getting impounded.
So he cannot drive for 3 months. He got hit with a $1,200 fine. He got stripped of 2 points from his driver's license. I don't know what that means. And he was taken into custody. But
well, I don't know if that's fair. I mean, I guess hopefully there's enough, hey, you need to wind it down there, big fella. Because, if it's go time and you can go as fast as you want, and then all of a sudden, boom, you have to throttle that thing down to 75 miles an hour, that's tough to do.
What's the fastest you've been up in a car? Could you imagine 199?
No.
I think I've been to 110.
Okay, I think 105 probably, and even then it felt like the car I was driving was going to shake and fall apart.
It's going to blow up.
Because we dealt with because the only place you can do that are on these old back roads in Idaho.
Yeah.
And you're driving a vehicle that probably deserves to be on one of those old back roads, and then you're like, it feels like you feel your internal organs starting to liquefy because they're shaking so much.
Yeah, and you're horrified.
Yeah.
I don't think I've gone over 100 since I turned 17. Like you go 100 when you're stupid and you first get in a car.
Exactly.
And you think mom and dad don't know. And
they know.
And you get up to 100, 105, anything, and you're just things are zooming by. Think of 199 miles per hour. How can we even?
But in a McLaren, you could probably get there pretty
easy.
It's pretty smooth too, I would imagine. Right here on the zone.